combat game from Magic Duels. This time I'm going to be trying to figure out if is it possible to mill the opponent without the Sphinx tutelage. So the key for this deck is this one card, Talent of Telepath, that lets us mill for 7 cards on our opponent at sorcery speed, and we can cast opponent's spells if we hit them while we are milling, and that is very interesting. The bad part of the deck is that because of the rarity of this card, we are only allowed to carry 2 on any given deck at most, so we need to have some sort of recovering of this card from the graveyard once we have used it. So we are running friends to let us do that. For instance, Jace, once it turns into the telepath, we can cast an instant or sorcery from the graveyard, but the downside of doing that is that after doing so, the card gets exiled from the graveyard and we can never again play it. Another option for us is going to be using Ulamog's Reclaimer. If we return a card from exile to the opponent's graveyard, we can recover one target instant or sorcery card from the graveyard, and also similar effect from the possessed Scab that is more flexible, but the Scab has the downside that it himself is never going to hit the graveyard, and also Green Guardian of Murasa that has the ability to recover any card from the graveyard on even also when entering and leaving the battlefield. So we have a lot of graveyard spells fetch, and also we are going to, I forgot, almost forgot, this is a new addition, the Vexing Scuttler, an emerge card that has a similar effect when we cast instead of the other ones that trigger when they enter the battlefield, but this has the emerge mechanic, so we can pay maybe a low cost to play the Vexing Scuttler. And also, finally, but most strangely, addition, the Geist Blast, that is very expensive, but if this is in the graveyard, we can pay 3, 1 blue and 2 generic to copy target instant or sorcery. So if we can afford to pay the cost, we can actually be casting this card many times on any big given game, and also we are running a little bit of graveyard fetch to recover our creatures that lets us recover our spells, and the cycle is complete. And also think in the eyes to return all permanents to the hand and restart the cycle, and with a very more crushing effect, the Crash of Tentacles, because this returns all non-land permanents, including planeswalkers, enchantments, artifacts, and whatnots, instead of just non-horror creatures. So also running a fog that is going to, I hope, let us prevent some damage, because I think that this deck is very wacky to work too good, but let's go ahead and try how this performs against some actual opponent. There's only one way to know if this is going to work. So if we get to mill once, I'm going to be very happy. I'm not sure whether this is a very viable deck in general, but I expect this to be quite fun to be playing. Also, the talent of the Telepath may let us cast some interesting spells sometimes from the side of our opponent's library. So here we are, waiting for the server to find us a challenger, or conversely, we are challenging someone from the server. So the handicap of this deck is that our cards are quite expensive, the cards that we are planning to use to win, and we are running 3 colors. So green is here to help us getting more lands in time. This renewal also lets us get some life, but by the time we get to cast that card, I think that our basic lands are going to be out in the wild, and the most relevant effect might be the life gain. Perhaps we can we should try to change the Mrs. Renewal for Pulse of Mirasa that has a similar effect, less powerful, but it costs about half the Nisas, and it can be played at instant speed. So let's go ahead and let's see if we this time maybe we after this game we make a quick tune up and replace the Nissa's renewal for Pulse of Mirasa. That also has the benefit of fetching more creatures or lands from the graveyard. Maybe we want to bring back an Evolving Wilds. So let's see what happens now. We are running 2 lands, but too little action here, so I'm going to draw a new hand. This one is a little bit better because we can play a turn 2 Salvage Strong and a turn 3 Think in the Eyes. Later on, Macabre Goals, but we have nothing that we want to discard yet. And Oblivion Strike is premium removal, but expensive, but can exile a creature that is bothering us. So this game let me use the ability of Evolving Wilds and search for an island. And here I'm going to play the Lumbry Falls and Savage Drone. So far our opponent knows that we are running green and blue, but I think that not many opponents can figure out what is our actual plan with this deck. That is very confusing even for me. So that actually, if our opponent is a good player, that helps us. Otherwise, it's not the best because bad players will play as if nothing is happening. And here, our opponent is wondering if he wants to play a Fiery Impulse. The Salvage Storm by dying lets us draw and discard, and I'm going to right away discard the Case Blast. So maybe sometime in a following turn we can play this from the graveyard. And now here comes a Drowned Catacomb and a Venting Infiltrator. No point yet into dropping Think in the Eyes because we are not close to casting enough instants or sorceries to transform this, and the opponent is not posing any threats yet against us. So far a red removal and white and blue, so possibly we are going to be seeing a lot of counter spells. Let's see what happens if we attack. Maybe a Celestial Flare, Blessed Alliance, that is quite similar to Celestial Flare. This forces us to sacrifice a creature. So our opponent on a lot of removal and possibly a heavy spell deck, heavy instance and sorcery deck. I imagine. I think that the connection is being somewhat affected. This is taking too long. I'm worried. What is this meaning? Come on, come on. Oh no, I think that our opponent or myself have lost the connection. Maybe it is me. Apparently, I'm still connected. I'm playing live, so I don't know what to expect from this. So, okay, let's wait just a minute, otherwise I'm going to restart. So this timer is about to finish. Maybe I have to play. I cannot click the cards. So if this orange bar runs out and nothing happens, I'm going to restart. No. Alright. Well, this was a waste of our time, but anyway, let's go ahead and we have to mind our business. Joining session, this time much faster than before. So maybe the server knew that we were affected by the disconnection. Or not. What's going on? Come on, Swirling Wheel. Join the session. I'm joining the session. Uh, I think that the developers, the designers of the game, forgot to add a cancel button at this stage. What happens if this fails and I have no way to leave? Come on. Joining session? Come on. What are you doing? Are you loading? Are you doing something? We don't know. What's happening? Oh, come on. Please. Well, I'm afraid that I'm going to have to restart the client, so please bear with me. If I can get to switch the application and enter the task manager and trying to close the game, and I'm going to close the Steam and restart all. So I'm sorry. I hope that you are not stuck here. I should have some music to these situations, the elevator music. So let's see. So far we are loading fine. Accessing the Steam community while playing. If we press Shift and Tab, and we see, oh, look at all the achievements. 47 out of 49. Wow. Okay, connecting. And let's go ahead as fast as we can against an opponent because we want to see how bad this deck is. Oh no, I forgot to change the card that I was thinking before. I should. Okay, I missed the opportunity to fix one of the cards of the deck, and I lost 2 ranks, but I don't mind. Ranks are pretty pointless in this game, and well, we have the lands, not much else besides, but maybe we get to kill something with the Murderous Compulsion. So let's start with a Woodland Cemetery, because if we draw something with black or green at 2, we can play next turn, but it's quite unlikely, but just in case. So here comes the Hinterland Harbor. I'm going to play an Iceland, yes, why not? And Macabre Walls, we could cast this, but it's kind of pointless at this stage. So our opponent playing with blue, a bit scary because this combination of colors is going to run a lot of counter spells. and we got the primal druid. So let's try to play this and see what happens here. So far nothing, and let's go ahead with the hinterland harbor and hope that this can be of value to us. If our opponent exiles this or places this back in our hand or library is bad, otherwise not terrible, because if this dies we get to search for a library, and here I'm going to drop a mountain to mess up with our opponent, because he's not going to know what I am trying to do. Drop the thing in the ice, and let's hope that our opponent attacks with the bygone bishop, so we can use the murderous compulsion to finish him next turn. And if not, we get the countermand ready for next turn. Phantom's Breach, bringing up this one to 3-4 for this turn, and it gains vigilance, so we do not get to destroy it with the murderous compulsion. This particular card is nice to run along with tapping card effects. So here I'm going to play the Quagmire, and I think that our opponent is waiting for us to do something and has an instant or flash creature otherwise. So we are going to skip the attack and continue. And our opponent not flashing and not casting anything. So now he's at 4, but his blue is worrisome. Now he swings. We get hit for 2 more points, and our life total is already 15. And we have a selfless spirit that I'm going to countermand. So the milling has officially started with 4 cards from the library to the graveyard, and we get to see what is our opponent trying to do. Another spirit creature along with this other points towards a spirit based deck. A second murderous compulsion that we can afford, but we cannot on the same turn activate the Quagmire, so okay, no point in holding back. I think it's better for us to destroy this as soon as possible. So we could get to flip the thing in the ice next turn. That would be quite hilarious, because that was not what we were trying to do. But let's see what happens, because of course casting this into thin air is not too valuable for us. And another selfless spirit here. The selfless spirit is quite powerful, because creatures the opponent controls gain indestructible until the end of the turn, and this one makes the opponent able to investigate additional times. So we have a Lumbering Falls now, and what to do? So maybe we just want to Hissing Quagmire. Alright. We lose the opportunity to disperse if we attack here, but I don't mind trading this land for any one of these creatures. Maybe the opponent is going to sacrifice this to get it indestructible. So no, he didn't, and now he has this single Earthquell Illuminator on play. Swings for 1. We have another target for Murderous Compulsion, and also the Gravedigger, but currently no nice targets in the graveyard, so let's go ahead and order those compulsion this one. So, let's see. The spell queller enters the battlefield. And what now? If we disperse here, the spell queller returns, but well, that's a kind of messy situation we are in, because if we cast disperse, I think that everything gets back into the hand. This fizzles, but we get this other spell without a valid target. So I think that it's better to wait a little bit before using disperse. This is such a mess. So if I cast disperse, our opponent may try to bring this back to my hand. So Skyline Cascade is not effective against a creature that is not currently tapped. So now I think I'm going to, well, does it matter what to do now? Maybe our opponent has a counterspell, but it won't work. So we lost the opportunity to use Murderous Compulsion to kill something. We have no target to cast this, but we are left with a 7-8 on the boards, and our opponent should probably drop a creature here to block this. Opponent forced to discard due to hand size. He chose not to bring back any of his. Okay, here enters a flash creature that I assuming is going to tap. Yes, and I'm going to respond by activating Lumbering Falls. So it's a good thing that we have fog on our hands, so if I think that sooner or later the opponent's side is going to be flooded with a lot of spirits, and we might need to fog away the damage. So this one particularly powerful, because whenever any spirit enters the battlefield, lets it tap our creatures, and for instance with this one, and also there are many flash spirit creatures that our opponent can use. So maybe we are lacking a little bit of draw, because we have no many choices currently to use. Our opponent is going to destroy target creature. I'm probably going to place counters on each target creature the opponent controls. Alright, now the good thing is that now we have a target for the Gravedigger, and we can start doing all this all over again. So on the other hand, we do not have enough lands to play that, so here maybe playing 2 creatures is better for this turn. Also we have the Lumbering Falls that we can activate, but also the Gravedigger let us play the Fog just in case. So let's try to recover the thing in the ice. Yes. Proceed to pass the turn. So we are not getting the cards that matter in our deck, and I think that maybe we should be running lots of drawing cards, because our combo is not going to appear soon enough. And here I missed the timer to play the fog, but perhaps it is better to use it. So this chase is going to be busy bouncing back the thing in the ice back to our hands, I suppose. We can also try to kill him by activating Lumbering Falls, but then we do not have too much else to play. But I think maybe we want to start hitting that Planeswalker before it gets out of hand. So let's bring down its loyalty to 1, assuming nothing else happens here. There we go. Jace is at 1 and we are going to be hit by 5. This is very problematic, and now we are going to be hit by maybe more. Yes, our opponent places the counters on the creatures and now we die. Horrible. So against the flyers I think that our only hope would have been to being able to flip the thing in the eyes again, but that was not going to happen anytime soon. So possibly there were better plays for me to try there, but I think I would have lost anyway. Now let's go ahead again, and I'm forgetting to. Oh, I forget that I have to fix the deck a little bit. Sorry about that, guys, but no Pulse of Mirasa for you this game. So maybe a single Pulse of Mirasa is too little to matter. Now a single land is very bad. Now we have 3 lands, but little chance to play on curve, but I don't want to risk going for lower amount of lands. So here I think that the safest is to search for an island here that is going to let us play the thing in the ice for sure next turn, but depending on what we draw we may choose to drop the Hissing Quagmire instead, because if we do that, turn 3 we have the Benthic Infiltrator that is maybe perhaps more relevant, and here thanks to the Salvage Drone I think the planning to go after the turn 3 Benthic Infiltrator is going to be much better, and if we get to connect damage with the Salvage Drone it's going to be great to help us starting with the milling. And our opponent happens to have a thing in the eyes of her own or his own. We don't know if this is actually a girl or not. So no change of plans. The only thing is that now if we attack with the Salvage Drone we are not going to be able to hit the opponent because he blocks with the thing in the eyes. But Benthic Infiltrator next turn is unblockable, and that's quite good. And if this is a sign that our opponent might be running lots of spells and sorceries, and Talent of the Telepath is going to help us if we get to cast this. We have both copies on hand and that is quite remarkable. Now let's go ahead and start by hitting with the Infiltrator for 1 point and 1 inches, triggering, and let's hope we get the extra blue mana source that we need to cast the talent. I think that after we get to play our first talent we are good. So we lost another thing in the ice and the Lumbering Falls, and Nissa has entered the battlefield. This lets the opponent search for a forest, but as long as we have the thing in the ice, Nissa is not going to be doing much harm. Let's hope. One can never know if our opponent's running pump up spells. So here we have the Hinterland Laror, and let's go ahead and mill the opponent that is trying to mill us at the same time. We are running a similar. So Planner Outburst, quite interesting, but is it time to do? Maybe yes, let's go with Planner Outburst here. I think we gain more out of that than our opponent. Salvage Throne, not yet. You're quite interesting. Let's draw and discard Denise's Renewal. So this Disperse can slow down the Sphinx a little bit, but we Pills of Mirasa recovering Nissa or Thing in the Eyes. I think Nissa most likely. That's the case. So end of the turn, our opponent. Now let's see what else is in the graveyard. Elemental Uprising. So target land becomes a 4/4 creature. We got the Drowned Catacomb, and I'm going to let's talent of the Telepath and see if we hit something juicy from the opponent. A Pulse of Murasa of our opponent. So we are going to cast 2 of them and return the Gravedigger, and I think another, if confirmed, this one at a time, and write 2 things in the eyes. Now let's go with the Ventic Infiltrator. Maybe we can think about the other cards later on. So next turn, probably going to play the Reclaimer and return the talent of the Telepath to our hand. A good thing about this is that our opponent is going to be drawing a lot on purpose, then that is going to help the milling that we want to make. Other option is to slow down this one Sphinx by playing this Purse. So Jace or Benthic Infiltrator. I think the Infiltrator, and let's see if our opponent is going to cast something. Apparently not, so we are going to disperse this one, and there we go. We save ourselves from a little bit more of milling for the time being, but it's not going to last too long. But at least our opponent has to spend some mana to play the Sphinx. Here he comes. And Artificer's Epiphany. This is going to force the opponent to discard a card. So, too bad we got milled, but the opponent is thinning his own library without us doing anything, and maybe a little bit problematic if he gets to flip Nissa, but that is not too worrisome at this point in time. Now let's first of all attack with the Infiltrator to exile something, but most likely we're going to bring this island back to the graveyard of the opponent using the Reclaimer. Now there we go. Also Reclaimer is going to be able to block Nissa, and we receive the talent once again. We send the island back to opponent's graveyard, and If we manage to kill our own Ulemox Reclaimer, we can spawn him with the Gravedigger. Here Nissa transforms our opponent with tons of life, so this game is not about killing the opponents, but who can mill the other one fastest. Kind of interesting benchmark for our deck, and that is quite useful to us thanks to having Gravedigger in our hand. So Pills of Mirasa, recovering maybe this time. The thing in the ice is the only creature available for the opponent. No, Green Guardian of Mirasa. Instead that one, that is actually more dangerous, but we have the Green Guardian of our own. But let's go ahead and mill yet again our opponent for 7 more, and Exposed Evil, Fog. Well, we get to investigate if we cast these two, and maybe we are interested in investigating later on, but probably not, because drawing is going to be bad for us if we are facing the tutelage. We could Green Guardian back the disperse if we are on the verge of getting ourselves milled, but our opponent is getting close to getting the milled. Declaration in stone going against Jace. A second tutelage. And Artificers going to hit us hard. So 4 triggers. Lucky for us, having 3 colors is kind of stops the reactivation of the Sphinx. But anyway, it's at least 8 cards we lost, and a declaration in stone as expected, so we lost the Jace forever. Now, from these cards, what is the best one at this point? I think that currently it's going to be this one. So let's go ahead with the talent, or maybe the disperse. Well, actually this is the breaking point in this game, because fetching back the disperse might help us survive against the Sphinx, because if our opponent can draw several times, we're doomed, so we lose 4 more, and if our opponent has drawing spells, 16 cards are going to be dying quite soon. Rise from the Tides. So let's hope we hit something useful with talent, but no, apparently we're going to get in a hit of 8 milling, and also I think that our opponent has enough mana to activate the Sphinx. Yes, so we are going to get at least 10, so we got more, and that's over. No, our opponent misplayed. He should have drawn. Now that's a huge misplay from our opponent. So target creatures from graveyard to hand and discard a card. So I think that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We are short, 1 mana short to being able to use the Case Blast with talent of Telepath. That is quite a sad part, because 1 more mana would have enabled us to win this game, but regrettably that is not going to happen. And what now? So that's it. Very close game. We missed on one land to being able to use the Geist. We can use the Green Warden of Mirasa, and we just died. And our opponent on the verge of dying, but actually he misplayed because he could have activated these things last turn to finish us. And there we go. A hit for plenty of damage, and even if we survive the damage, next turn we lose against the empty library. So kind of interesting because our milling was quite powerful against another milling deck. That's pretty amusing. So let's go ahead again, but this time let's fix this one because I don't think that I want the incest renewal here, because we are not running too many basics, and the Pills of Mirasa also lets us recover creatures from graveyard. And where is it? Where is it? Where is it? Where is it? We're close. Here it goes. And a little bit more of draw would be nice, but our cure is kind of messy and we get to draw out of the salvage room. Maybe we could swap one of the fogs and add an extra salvage room and rely on the Pills of Mirasa if we are losing too much life, or even this one. I think this. Okay, we are going to skip this one and add an actual drawing spell from blue. That is going to be the catalog that lets us draw and then discard, and we want to discard the Guide's Blast, of course. That is the whole purpose of discarding in this deck. So let's go again and try to find a nice opponent again. So I think that in this game, in these Magic Duels, we are missing a little bit of variety on enchantment removal, because the colors that can deal with enchantments are going to be white and green, and that kind of limits what you want to play. For instance, here the previous match, we were at the mercy of the Sphinx tutelage, and there are quite a handful of problematic enchantments around, and other colors really struggle against enchantments. So the white has the upper hand with multiple removal, and in green you can find a lot of removal thanks to the enter the battlefield triggers from some creatures. But other than that, the enchantments that are running around the place are quite powerful, and the tools to fight against the enchantments are kind of lacking. And since we do not have a sideboard to choose different cards after playing against an opponent, there is kind of I think that the best decks that you should probably have are going to include either white or green, just to deal with the opponent enchantments. So here, lots of lands, that is good, but other than that, little action. But I think that 5 lands in the deck that I want to try to pull, for the thing that I'm trying to pull, 5 lands might be appropriate. The only thing is that Mortuary Mire is going to enter without any value if we don't get to kill something along the way. So here, Mountain, because we have all the other colors under cover. Benthic Infiltrator is just great, so now we are going to play the Goodlands Cemetery just to make our opponent wonder what the heck are we trying to do. And Benthic Infiltrator is going to help us grab some food for the Reclaimer. The only problem is that if our opponent has Declaration in stone, he's going to go straight to Benthic Infiltrator, but we currently have no other place. So this deck our opponent is playing I find very interesting. It's about equipment cards that is going to be quite amusing to see. So here, let's go with the Infiltrator right ahead. The Infiltrator can block the Stoneforge Acolyte, and the opponent needs to play another ally and tap both of them to activate this effect. So, a little slow, but maybe if you are relying on the equipment, it's necessary to run this card. Also for 1 mana, it's actually quite good. Here, this one could get flying until the end of the turn. So the opponent searching for equipment, but the odds of finding that in the first cards from the library I think are not so great. And here is the point, so we can attack if we hold this for block. That forces the opponent to pay the cost to activate the core climber, but that is not too different from playing Sink in the Ice. So let's go ahead and attack with the Benthic Infiltrator, and if our opponent chooses to attack, he is not able to use the cohort. So now we play the Lumber Falls next to the thing in the ice. I see what you mean. So far a single sorcery that we are not willing to use yet in our hand, so this is going to be on defensive mode for quite a long time. So kind of cool. Wall of Resurgence places 3 counters over a land that our opponent chooses. That happens to be a stone quarry, but I imagine that the opponent is going to cohort, but he should be waiting, maybe. But since he has this huge defender, he's not too worried about our attacks. And now we have Catalog on hand. So what do we want to do? There is an instant, we can discard this to the cemetery and use Mortuary Mire to return it to our hand. But first of all, let's see what our opponent is doing with his card from the top of the library. It is A, or it was A. Okay, it was Undo War Clear, another cohort creature. So now we can ambush maybe something with the Lumbering Falls, but nothing that we really want to trade here. So let's catalog. Maybe we get to draw a Gaze Blast. No, it was Anissa's Pilgrimage, so let's send the Yulamox Reclaimer back to graveyard, and mortuary mire to place the reclaimer on top of our library. What will our opponent do? Maybe he attacks with the quarry. We could block with the thing in the eyes. He can give this one flyer. So interesting. I think this is a cohort-based ally deck that is quite fun to play. I tried one version of this myself, but with the creatures a little bit more expensive than this. Maybe our opponent is still getting his collection. He has found these cards along the way, so he has no profitable attack on this turn. But starting next turn, he can deal 1 damage to our face. So here, let's play the forest and cast the pilgrimage, but I think we don't mind what we tap because this is going to cost 4 to activate. Oh, it's a pilgrimage. So the one and only forest in the library we find, and we are getting very close to activating the thing in the ice, but let's keep pushing with the Ventic Infiltrator that in about 18 turns could kill the opponent. So maybe we should cast double Macabre bolts. Let's see what happens. Let's see what we draw next turn. Getting to return all the opponent creatures to his hand is going to really slow him because he's activating the cohort, and we get to hit him for 7 using this one, and 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and also number falls. We spent 4 here. Let's see. Well, Crash of Tentacles. It's kind of funny because alright, this was supposed to be our finisher maybe, but okay, we can do so many things. Okay, let's cast this one. Just because Lamox Reclaimer to the graveyard, and which one? Alright, let's play the Macabre Walls. We return the Lamox Reclaimer to our hand, and we have to discard one of these, but this time it's going to be the Ventic Infiltrator, and we get to attack for 7, and our opponent is at 2 mana because he lost one of his land creatures, and next turn he is going to have to discard quite a lot of cards. So, okay, I am starting to feel sorry for our opponent. So he should be playing as much cards as he can, because 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. He's going to have to discard quite a lot, and that's not it. So he discards 3 cards. And we have this other that is so mini because we have this one on hand that is just so mean. So, do we want to attack with the Lumbering Falls because this will trade with the Sky Climber? So, wow! Oh, poor guy. That was so sad to see. So, I think that I'm going to hold back with the Lumbering Falls because it's not going to bring us too much closer to the winning condition that we want, and we might lose it against this creature. We might need it for later. And Ilamax Reclaimer, we can recover the catalog. Okay, let's go. Catalog, and the opponent can have this land back in his hand, and we should wait to use the catalog. No rush into playing this. So opponent playing the weapons trainer and possibly the one drop with cohort, the Stoneforge Acolyte. That is good. I think that is safe to use catalog here, and we are going to drop the island. Now I think that probably if we attack with everything, the opponent is willing to block the 7-8. So he blocks here, trades this. Mhm. Let's go ahead and attack with all our creatures. So let's play the Lumber Falls. So next turn we have another creature and Mortuary Mire. We could use that to return the Bedtick Infiltrator, but I think we would like to have something more useful at this stage. For instance, the talent of the Telepath. But against the AI, I don't think it matters. So, and even more, Aventic Infiltrator appeared just because. So now we're going to sync. Okay. Just controlling the board. Hit our opponent. Possibly he is going to trade with this one. Quite funny because this is the 3 weapon trainer appeared for our opponent. We confirm the attack, and now he is going to block the 7-8 and trade with the second Lumbering Falls. So I think this is quite repetitive, and I don't think we need the Ventic Infiltrator on top of our library. So the only thing is that we lost another mana, another blue, so we cannot play the Infiltrator this turn. So another couple of allies, but this time he's going to block both of our creatures, and so be it. And we hit with these two, and mind you that we could use Crash of Tentacles. This comes back to our hand. We can activate this one, so we can start a cycle. that is okay. Maybe just for the sake of the video and to show the mechanic, I'm going to do that before finishing our opponent that is on the verge of dying. And here nothing interesting to draw from the graveyard, but maybe I should have played the land to have extra mana. Sheer drop is going to kill the 7-8. I like this card, it's quite powerful. So now we're going to play this. And we are not having enough blue here, so okay, never mind. I'm going to attack with everything. Our opponent blocks this, takes 3, and I missed blue mana to do what I wanted to do. So that's something that we should consider, because many of our deck cards are blue. So these two guys can easily kill the opponent next turn, unless he in this moment gains some life somehow, but that was not the case. And alright, let's attack. So I think the blue colors from our mana are not too well spread, but okay, doesn't matter. It was me, the one who chose to discard a Iceland to the graveyard. So we have our victory, but not using the milling. So let's try one final game. Let's hope that we get to use the talent of the telepath as we want. So the only game that we managed to play that was on the milling game that we lost, but it was too close. So we are back at rank 13, but here this is a very nice starting hand, having even a counter spell that we should focus on getting enough blue to cast, but thanks to the primal druid and a second evolving wilds, that's going to pose no problem for us, and we can drop the thing in the ice very soon. And these pairs can deal with a threat, and also we could use this to protect some of our permanents, perhaps. So let's, just in case our opponent somehow has something to kill or exile, I'm going to start with the primal druid. In case that this dies, we get to search for a land from the graveyard, from the library. Topan Freeblade, not too problematic yet, but our opponent might enchant this, and if he does, we can use the thing in the ice, but let's play first the Lumbering Falls and wait and see. Our opponent might be trying to give this one flying, otherwise I'm okay with blocking with the Primal Druid and getting an extra land card. Also, he's running the Needle Spires, we have to watch out for the double striker. And call Full Moon. Let's hope our opponent plays something else. So here 6-5. So of course we are not going to use the thing in the ice to block. So this is going to hit us for 3, trampling over the primal druid. We could prevent all the damage, but we could lose both creatures, and I think that taking 3 damage is not too problematic, especially since we are going to disperse or something else the top and free blade. So let's make sure we get enough blue. And here comes the island. And what's happening? I think I missed the... Ah no! Ah yeah. The thing is that our opponent played 2 spells on the same turn because he was too greedy and did not realize what was going to happen. So Altered Ego is quite good, but I think that we can wait for that one. So here let's just fetch a black land and pass the turn and see how the opponent plays. No rush into using disperse now because we just bounce this back to the hand, and I think that our opponent could attempt to place more enchantments over this one, and indeed he played Bloodlust and maybe something else, a second top and free blade. Not bad. So here attacking in a strange pattern. I don't know why he sent that one onto attack mode, but here we just get rid of the top and free blade with the Bloodlust, and we can block this one. So let's see, catalog. Well, I think what to do. I think it's better for us to hold on to the countermand, and otherwise we can activate the lumbering falls to kill maybe the top and free blade. The opponent doing nothing. I don't understand what happened. He has no mana available and no activated abilities. Maybe he's reading the card, it's possible. He just wants to know what happens. In the worst case scenario, we still have Catalog to cast. And what happens here? I want to click continue, but the button is disabled. So it was the opponent leaving the game. So let's continue playing. I would love to see the talent of the Telepath in action, because that's the point of the deck. And here I'm going to countermand this one. That also releases one of the counters from Sting in the Eyes and gets rid of a couple of problematic creatures. So Iroa's champion, Knight of the White Orchid and Ranger I'm very happy to see them in the graveyard. So here we are missing 1 black mana to play these 2 cards. So let's start by cataloging. Let's hope we get a black land card. So no, but other than that we can discard this, but there's no point discarding that. Let's at any rate discard the Savage Throne. So okay, not yet. Okay, if we get a little bit of damage, I don't care too much. The opponent could activate this one if he draws into another land. That is the most problematic card, and here a pump up could be bad, but at any rate we can use Macabre Walls to recover this from the graveyard if it dies. Alright, let's go to a free blade that we already knew the opponent had in hand, and let's hope we draw into a swamp or a black mana producing lands. Come on, come on, come on, come on. Nope, almost there. So let's go with Hinterland Labor. We could should we copy the thing in the eyes and use Murderous Compulsion? Well, Murderous Compulsion is not going to kill anything because thing in the eyes is going to flip. Therefore, I'm going to play Macabre Ghost. We recover these two creatures from graveyard. We now have to discard one of these. I'm going to discard the Salvage Room, and we could Altered Ego the Kraken Horror, but that's not the talent of the Telepath that I want to play. Alright, here we hit the opponent for 7. But okay, if I want to win at any rate, I should play the Altered Ego, but the point of the deck is to get talent of the Telepath, so this time I'm going to please excuse me, but I want to get there. So this is going to be eating the opponent blockers. That our opponent, we know that he has quite a handful of them. And I might be trying to kill my own Primal Druid, perhaps to get another land and getting closer to the talent of the Telepath. So we have to take into account that the opponent might be running Reprisal that will deal with the horror, but we later on can replay it from the graveyard. Okay, another land. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3. So if we had any land planes on the library, we could copy this one to search for another one, but I don't think that's doable. So here I'm going to attack with this and this. Let's see what happens. Probably double block here. Yes. And the free blade. I think that the opponent should have left this alive. Okay. Forest. Enters the battlefield tapped. And okay. Let's, just in case of reprisal, let's make a copy of this little guy here. So we have an 11-12 copy of this 7-8 creature, and our opponent is running a very basic deck. He could get to kill this one sometime. No talent of the telepaths yet, so let's go Macabre Balls, these two, back to hand, and we are going to discard this time the Woodland Cemetery and play these two. and alright, start attacking with this guy and this other guy. It's going to be, yes, this is fine. The opponent is going to lose 2 blockers here. So we should not be afraid of retaliation. The only problematic one will be the middle spires, but I think we can get this to die and pay the madness cost of the murderous compulsion. Kinsvale Skirmisher, not bad. I think that it still is not going to attack because we have too much power to, alright, it did attack. So let's go ahead and prevent the damage, but most importantly, let's get to draw and discard the compulsion and pay the madness and hit this. Well, we draw into a land, but is 1 card closer to the talent of Telepath. Now a bit scared of this flyer creature that we cannot kill right away, so let's go with the Savage Drone and press for make the opponent lose some more blockers here, so the board is clear. So far only creatures and enchantments, but if the opponent places a powerful enchantment on this little guy here, we are going to lose, but I'm willing to risk that just for the sake of getting to play the talent of the Telepath that we have not gotten into yet. Come on, talent. So I think we're going to get not attacked because the opponent cannot block the retaliation. So apparently he can. That's kind of strange. And I hit his machination. Kind of cool because this makes one of the attackers indestructible. So I'm going to first go with the drone to fish for another card. I think I should have attacked with another one. 2. Come on, this is the Gravedigger. So we can dish the land. We have, I think, enough. And do I want to fetch some other creature from the graveyard? Right. Come on, Savage Drone. And yes, having the counterband is going to let us counter, of course, but what are these 2 cards? We don't know. Come on, come on, computer, this is a computer. This one is making Taman Free Blade indestructible. And since this one has vigilance, he can attack, and nothing too spectacular is going to happen here. So we can still send this to die. Come on, talent of the Telepath. I don't mind discarding the countermand. Come on, 2 out of 34 cards for the talent of the Telepath, but this was not it. And Gideon, we should counter this one because since this enchantment can make this indestructible, and he can also pay to get indestructible. So we do not want to have that on board. And the opponent had the exquisite firecraft. Um, we have a hissing quagmire that is quite boring. So let's go with this and this, and our opponent is going to lose possibly these two, or perhaps this. Alright, quite a peculiar choice for the opponent, and we drop the Quagmire. Come on, 2 out of 32 cards, 1 in 16. If you want to guess one number in 16, you have, I think that the odds of hitting the right number are quite good. So we get 2 points of damage out from the Sky Hunter Skirmisher. Our life total is getting drained slowly but steadily, so we have to get to the talent quite soon, or we are going to lose. This is the most pointless activation of a Needle Spires, because it was after combat and it only helped the opponent waste the mana, and by applying this one before attacking, the opponent missed on 2 points of damage, and we still drawing lands. This is kind of sad. So let's go ahead and attack with these two. So I'm expecting the luck occur to with these two. Alright. No point in playing the Golden Wilds, all our basic lands are already on the graveyard or on the board. Maybe I should remove one of these from the deck. So Chandra, quite helpful, but I think we can force the block to happen. No, another 2 points of damage, or no, this time no. He chose to keep this attacking. So I think the computer likes to live in danger. If we activate these two lands, he's dead for sure. Oblivion Strike. Alright, let's first attack with the Awoken Horror. Boom. Now Oblivion Strike on this, and we are now just waiting for talent of Telepath. Waiting and waiting. The only thing our opponent can do is activate this or play a card that happens to be a land. It's not going to do anything. That's it. Opponent holds this on his hand. Maybe a Celestial Flare. This appears to be all cards from the Origins. A second thing in the eyes. Okay. Let's continue. Come on, 2 out of 29 cards. Of course, it is possible that the talent of the Telepath are at the bottom of the deck. That would be quite horrible. So let's get to 25. If I have 25, nothing interesting happens. We just finish the game. Alright. speed up. Rolling Guardian of Miresa. So maybe we can go for the catalog, so we get to draw something. Yes, but first let's get rid of this. Okie dokie. Now catalog, and we're probably going to discard these evolving wilds. So no, it's better to discard the case last in this case, and go ahead. We do not want to mortuary mire first because the only creatures that are in the graveyard are not too interesting for us, and also because we want to know what is card number 26. So nothing from the opponent's side. He has 2 cards in hand, and we are failing to find the cards, so I think the opponent is saving mana to activate this one. So let's go ahead, and I think I'm going to attack with this. So most likely these 2 are not creatures, otherwise the computer would have played those, but we are not sure. We might find out now. So Foundry of the Consuls, 2 new blockers from this. Alright, come on. Well, this is the weak point of the deck apparently. We have a hand filled with lands that we don't care, so let's go here and here, and let's finish the game as soon as possible so we get the reward. We attack with everything, including these 2 that we actually don't give too much value. So we hit, our opponent is at 1, play and finish. We do not want those cards on top of the library. And okay, it is possible that our opponent finds a couple of exquisite firecraft plus a haste creature, and that could kill us, but apparently nope. So does our opponent have an instant or something? Let's see. And boom! So the talents of the telepaths were not on the first 35 cards from the library, so the kind of disappointing. So I think that I'm going to leave this for by the time, and let's hope maybe soon I'm going to make a new version of the deck by changing a little bit of the cards. I think that the deck performed better than I expected, but a bit lacking on drawing, and that could be solved using some clue generation cards. So I'm inclined towards that aspect to modify this deck. So until then, I hope you have enjoyed, and don't forget to leave your comments, and see you soon.